Hello, Huge Movie Fanatic Nate, stopping on by, continuing my reviews of the Christmas-themed horror movie reviews. This time I'm coming at you to review a little-known, quote-unquote, non-gem by the name of Lake Alice. This is a movie that basically came out in 2017, last year, and I actually came across it online, streaming online, I think in January of this year, and I was like, oh man, too bad I saw it too late because I could review it. It's a horror movie that takes place around Christmas, and it's just just shot on video or whatever, just kind of, well, even it doesn't really matter to say that anymore because so many real, A movies are shot digitally, so I guess it doesn't really matter to say that anymore. But Lake Alice is a very short, it's like, it says 78 minutes long, just direct-to-video kind of horror thriller, but it is filmed in Wisconsin, which is really cool, very, neighboring state to mine. And, unlike Jack Frost and Jack Frost 2, it does have an actual Wisconsin winter, and that's one of the best things about this movie. The premise of this movie is basically, an older couple, their daughter and her boyfriend of almost a year, basically for Christmas, go up to the cabin or whatever. He's visiting, well, I think she goes to school, I think they go to school in California, so they're coming back for Christmas break and they're going to the cabin. I don't think this is their house, I think it's just a cabin, I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but they're getting together for a Christmas, family thing, and for the first time for the family to meet the boyfriend and stuff. And I can't stress how the obviously the real winter Wisconsin scenery is really great to see and really authentic. And as much as I don't really like winter, it's very beautiful to look at as long as you're not in the freezing cold or whatever. So that's probably the best thing about this movie. I want to say that the actors, all the performers are relatively strong, I think, for the most part. I mean, I think the dad is pretty strong, and I think the weaknesses, there's a lot of weaknesses with this movie. I think it's more, the weaknesses could be more attributed to the director or editor, than to any of the actors. I think the actors are relatively well versed in their trade in this movie. Basically, believe it or not, years ago I reviewed the movie Terror at Tenkiller, and basically the guy who plays the antagonist in that movie, Tor, that's his character's name in that movie, is an antagonist in this movie. I mean, he's not the bad guy, but the guy who played Tor in Terror at Tenkiller plays this evil kind of, well, he doesn't really do much, this cop guy who harasses the main characters of this movie just for no frickin' reason. So it's kind of cool to see him, was like frickin' what, like 30 or so odd years after he was Tor in Terror at Tenkiller. And as I said in my review of Terror at Tenkiller, I mean, he's since gone on to be in, he was even a really, really small part. He made an appearance in Transformers from 2007 and stuff. So he's, I don't know, he's in these movies, he's in real movies, I don't know. But anyway, Tor from Terror at Tenkiller is in this, and that's always fun to see. And it's just like, oh wow, Tor was, just next to my state, oh my gosh. Like he's some big movie star or something. But so you've got that element in this movie, the goofy ass, cop and deputy that are constantly harassing them. You've got this goofy acquaintance of, of the mom, and her goofy son who works at this, this woman works at the store. Then you've got this goofy character. Early on in the movie, we're setting up all these potential suspects. Then you've got this goofy character of Carl, who's just like a lonely, goofy guy, and could he really kill her? We're setting up all these, red herrings and stuff. It'd be cool to actually call a movie Red Herring and just have the whole movie just full of all these people who are red herrings, or call a movie Red Herrings. Well, the first movie would be Red Herring, and then the sequel would be Red Herrings, like Aliens. But anyway, as I drift off from the review point of this review, getting back to reviewing it, that's what happens at the beginning of this movie. We're just setting up all this stuff. And I want to say, as a person who lives in the Midwest with horrible, cold, snowy winters, I want to say that it's really weird that when they get to the cabin or the house or whatever the hell you want to call it, like all of them walk into the house wearing their boots. Like I think every single character, none of them, trust me, when you live in a frickin' cold winter wonderland, You don't walk onto your carpet with your boots on. And every single character, I want to say every single character does that in this movie. They just walk in the door, stomp their feet, and then just walk into the kitchen or walk onto the carpet into wherever. And it's just like, it's kind of like Californians coming to Wisconsin to make a movie and not realizing that that's not what we do, because we track in all kinds of snow and water on, and we dirty up the carpet and stuff. But that's just one thing as being what you call it, a person who lives in the Midwest, that I just thought was so stupid about this movie. So after they drop the kids off, well, I mean, the young girl, the college kids, the daughter and the boyfriend off, then they go back to town to get some shopping or whatever. These kids go off, we'll just call them kids, go off on the snow, or the four-wheeler, and then the guy proposes to the girl. Oh, it's so romantic. And then we just cut back and forth between that and mom in the store, just encountering this weird mom, of this boy that used to be in this girl's past. Sarah's past is the daughter, Sarah. And then encountering Carl and all this crap, and they come back, parents come back, and oh my gosh, dad's a little bit, obviously she gives the parents the news about the engagement, and dad's not so sure about it. Can he provide for the daughter? He doesn't have a real job. He's a wannabe filmmaker, but I don't know if he's supposed to be in film school or what. There's all these plot points that they do in the movie that just don't really matter. The movie just, is just like so many of these movies, just pretty much the whole thing it's just filler. So that's what most of the movie is. Oh, I forgot to mention when when Sarah and her boyfriend were four-wheeling, the filmmaker, wannabe boyfriend, duct tape a video camera onto the front of it so they can record their exploits or whatever, and then he just completely forgets about it. And later on, when all shit starts to go bad, we just see some figure walk in. And another thing is they leave the garage door open for some dumb no good reason. And some evil character just walks into the garage and takes the camera and starts recording the family through the windows. And it's just this movie is so random and just what's going on and why is it going on? It's just so freaking funny. You got the cop and the deputy that continually harass the family, and I think they drop off the kids originally, go back to town, come back and do dinner or something, and then they go back, dad has to go back to the store again. Trust me, that's another thing. When you live out in the country, you don't frickin' go back and forth. You get all your stuff done on your way to the house, and then you go to the house and you stay there. There's just so many logistical things about this movie that makes so little sense. So then the dad has to go, I think, to the store again at night to get beer, or to get, I don't even know why, I don't know why, to do something. And the girls or Sarah's like, well, why don't you ride along with them, the newly engaged boyfriend, and have some quality time. And so dad gets beer, he's harassed by the deputy in the store, and then the boyfriend of Sarah's harassed by the deputy, and just all of this, pointless stuff. It feels like it's just leading to somewhere, but it never really seems to. It's just oh my gosh. Oh, remember that movie I reviewed years ago, Hobbs End? This movie, it feels almost like a remake, or it's very, 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 very similar to Hobbs End. That movie I thought was, I don't know, maybe that was a little more interesting because it was just the woman and the guy. I don't know. It's very similar. This movie's very similar to Hobbs End. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But back earlier in the movie when the mom was in the store and coming across all these goofy characters, including Carl, it's just this awkward conversation. Towards the end of the conversation, she's like, yeah, you should stop by. And then later on, he ends up stopping by to he was going to deliver them firewood, but the dad's like, well, we got enough firewood already. And he's like, okay. And she's like, God, why is he coming? Why is this guy just showing up? Or the daughter says that, I think, Sarah, and then mom's like, well, I told him to stop by sometime. I didn't think he actually would. These people are like that, assholes, where they're you tell someone to stop by, and when they stop by, they're like, why did they stop by? I didn't think they would. Well, then don't invite them if you don't. Oh my God, these people piss me off. So those are the kind of characters that we're dealing with in this movie, and just all this like dad not being, the looks that dad gives to the boyfriend of his daughter, and just all this stupid stuff which you think is building towards some direction or to some whatever, and it just never ends up going anywhere. It's just so hilarious. Oh yeah, and then at some point the goofy woman that worked at the store comes by with the son, with her son to come by and give him a Christmas gift or whatever, and this is the first time we see her son, which is an old flame of Sarah, and him seeing that she's engaged now, he's just like, oh, and he seems disturbed about that, and the boyfriend's not too keen on seeing the old flame, and oh my gosh, you've got all this drama with just all these goofy people that's showing up at the door, and it's just, and this happens right after, he engaged to her, and then her boyfriend plays this stupid thing on her later on, or just moments later, like he's being all jealous or something, and it's just a joke he's playing on her, and it's just like, oh my gosh. Oh, at that same time, before they leave, the old flame of Sarah is like, hey, you guys should come to this bar or whatever. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm gonna do some singing at this bar. They're like, oh, okay, we'll stop by later. So so then later on, there's a scene where they go and see him singing, and oh my God, it's just the guy's singing, and they got the floaty cam, what's what I call the camera that's just on a dolly, and it's just slowly tracking sideways for no reason, just because they can. And at that scene where he's singing, it's just got the floaty cam, and it's just, the scene is so awkward and stupid, and it's only like, oh, well, this bar, will let us film here, so let's write a scene to film here, and oh my God, and Jesus. So the first 45 minutes is just a bunch of these random scenes, like I've just been saying. It's just, just awkward scenes of setting up possible suspects or killers or whatever. Then like 45 minutes into the movie is kind of when, I don't know, the payoff or what, the events start happening, where there's a knocking on the door, and they go to the door, no one's there, and then there's a knocking on the back of the door, and it's just like, oh my God, which is kind of creepy. I mean, that's definitely creepy to be woken up at night to that kind of stuff going on. And Dad grabs a shotgun, goes outside, and he's just looking around, and he turns around, and he's like, ah! And it turns out like a hatchet was thrown onto his back, and he lands on the ground, and there's a hatchet at his back, and it's just like, oh, everyone barricades themselves in the house, and it's just like, oh no, what's going on? And there's this scary, this look is kind of cool, actually, this scary winter mask face and stuff, and in the movie it doesn't have the red eyes, it's just black eyes, but that person ends up showing up, kind of the winter ghost face, if you will, and it's just like, oh, terrorizing, and oh my God. So even though I don't think there's any gunshot sounds or anything like that, Carl ends up coming back to like see if they need any help, which I don't know why he would, only to kind of creep in the door and get his throat slit by this killer guy, and it's just like, oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me. And at some point when Sarah's outdoors, in the woods just at night trying to escape all this terror, like we hear this, and we see that Mom tried to escape and ran into a tree, and her face is all bloody against the steering wheel. It's just like, oh my God, all this random just nonsense, and there's so much boring stuff of Sarah being like outside at night, and then the guy, her former fling, shows up, and he apparently is killed right in front of her, and she's like, oh, why are you here? And it's just like, well, with all these killings and stuff going on, and that's something I didn't tell you, that on the TV there's this disappearance and stuff, and it's with all this stuff going on, I want to keep Sarah safe, and he ends up being killed in front of her or something, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And there ends up being two kind of killers dressed up in these masks and stuff, and one of them's shorter and one of them's taller, and they end up tying, the sheriff, the Tara, Tor from Tara 10 Killer Sheriff ends up showing up, and the killers end up tying him to the tree and burning him alive. And meanwhile, there's always someone else that seems to be recording stuff, and it's just like recording everything with the video camera. Oh my gosh, the killers turn out to be crazy mom, that worked at the store, and the crazy, son who was just so crazy in love with Sarah that, he's trying to date women and, to replace her, and when they don't make the cut, he just kills them, and his all-time, love of his life is Sarah. He had a fling with her one summer, and so, I mean, that's the big, reveal of this movie is, mom and son are the crazy killers, and I guess mom's probably just doing this so son can hopefully have Sarah, and, oh my God, so, the mom who drove into the tree and was presumed dead ends up saving the day by shooting the son and mom, or mom first and then the son with the cop's gun or something like that, and you think both of the killers are killed, and then we cut to the being video recorded, and then we cut back to the it's the video camera's point of view, and it's like, well, I thought both of the killers were dead, and then just for no frickin' reason the guy who's videotaping turns the camera around on his face, and it's like the deputy, like he was the third player in part of it or something like that, and it's kind of like the knife, watching your own hand stab the knife in Halloween, like why is he turning the camera around on himself? Because that's the only way the character or the audience can know that could see this character. It's just so, oh my God, nonsensical. So miraculously, I will go as high as 3/4 stars out of 4 stars for Lake Alice. One thing it does have going for it, if you're not from the Midwest or never really experienced a real winter, it does have very beautiful winter scenery going for it, and like I say, the actors are competent, but unfortunately the script and probably the company, as far as the filmmakers they fell into with this production, might have left a little more to be desired. So that's pretty much Lake Alice. As with so many of these movies I'm reviewing right now, I can't exactly recommend it. If you can see it for free online or something like that, or come across I found this at this summer for $2 at Family Video, so I'm like, you know what, I saw that earlier this year and I can review it in December. We'll pick it up for $2 just because I liked it enough for that. This bonus extra featurette, it says it comes with, I thought was a behind-the-scenes making of. Well, I watched some of it. It's like nearly an hour long. It's almost like a recut version of the movie, like a shorter version of the movie or something. It's completely frickin' weird. So I've never seen anything like that before. So I guess that pretty much does it for Lake Alice. Don't really bother with it unless you can see it for free. Thank you very much for watching this review, and as always, we'll catch you on the next one.